So today we got the official reveal for Vanguard Zombies, and in it we learned a lot of different things about this game mode, but I think we should address the main thing right away, and that is that we are actually not launching with a round-based map. And I think that this is kind of to be expected. It's not good. I am disappointed by the fact we aren't getting round-based map on launch, but you have to keep in mind Treyarch is making this zombies mode in this game, and they literally just 2 weeks ago released Forsaken. So it would kind of be, maybe asking a lot for them to release two zombies maps in back-to-back months. So that's something that you guys maybe should have expected, knowing that Treyarch was going to be making it. So instead we have what seems to be a built upon Outbreak, which does seem to take a lot of steps that we asked for Outbreak to take in order to really make it into that game mode that we think it really could be, or at least people that like Outbreak can do that. So that's really feel like the discrepancy between people are currently. If you liked Outbreak, you're actually optimistic about this game. If you didn't, you're pretty, not happy about it. So that could be the problem that people are having. But either way, with that acknowledged out of the way, let's actually talk about some of the gameplay features for this zombies game mode. And to do that, we first need to start off with this new iteration of Outbreak called Der Anfang, which translates to English from German to the beginning, which is quite interesting. But let's talk about how this is going to work. So this is actually going to play on 4 different maps. One's going to be the Stalingrad map that we saw during the beta for the game, the very large multiplayer map, and it's changed a lot. Like, first things first, it's not daytime. Second things second, the skybox is completely changed because you do see the whole eclipse thing going on there, and then also we have like a bunch of random occultic stuff going on with clear candles. There's dead zombies, bodies. So they did change up the map a lot, even though it is a reused map for multiplayer. It is changed up a lot, which is one of the major things that we asked in Outbreak. Like, sure, whatever, you reuse them, but at least make them feel like zombies. And to me, I think they did a really good job at making this feel like a zombies map. But then we also have the Paris, which is probably the worst map out of all of them, because this is another multiplayer map, but it doesn't look like it's changed too much. And honestly, I don't know if the Paris map is going to be great for it, to be completely honest, and because that is probably the weakest map out of all of them. And then we have Merville, which is, I believe, to be a campaign mission that they are reusing, which I'm completely fine with here for a game mode like Outbreak. And this one looks really cool because it looks like with the fiery windmill and all that stuff, it looks really nice. I think it's overall probably one of the better ones. But then there's the final one, and what we were really asking out of Outbreak to do is have some exclusive zombie map locations for Outbreak, and the final one is Shinonuma. Yes, Shinonuma is returning, and it's going to be one of the Dranfang's location that you could teleport to. But with the locations understood, how does this game mode even work, especially compared to Outbreak? Well, how it seems is that when you spawn into the game, you will always spawn into Stalingrad, and here you will have like a little hub, and this hub will have access to Pack-a-Punch, the mystery box, perks, craftable table, and covenants, which we will be touching on almost all of those separately here in a bit. But keep in mind, you won't be able to access all of these things off the bat. In fact, you will be confined to a relatively small location that doesn't have access to all the perks, or maybe not even the mystery box, or maybe not even other things. We don't know what you won't have access to in the beginning, but you won't have access to a lot right off the bat. And how you actually access more of the map is by completing objectives. And this is how you kind of do the objectives to what our understanding of it. But first things first, we are currently aware of 3 different objectives. There's going to be Blitz, Transmit, and Harvest. Now, that's not a lot, which is a little disappointing, but those are the 3 we currently have. Blitz, from what they told us, is going to be kind of like a holdout. They say it's like a holdout, except you bring the fight to zombies, whatever that means. I'm not exactly sure. Then you have Transmit, which is just an escort mission where you have to, walk by the zombie head that floats around and escort it around the map. And then you have Harvest, which just makes you kill zombies. That some zombies will drop runes, and you have to pick pick up those runes and deposit them at an obelisk. And those are going to be our 3 objectives for launch at the very least. And these objectives are going to mainly take place over the maps Paris, Merville, and Shinonuma. Now, they didn't really make it clear if they could happen on Stalingrad, they didn't say, but they showed multiple times an objective being done on the Stalingrad map. So I don't know if it's going to work that when you access more of the map, then the Stalingrad map that is, you'll have to do objectives when you get there, or maybe you load into an alternate Stalingrad map and then you do the objectives. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but you can do objectives on all 4 maps, even the hub map, which is Stalingrad. But another thing about these objectives and these maps is that Treyarch made it sound like you're able to choose which map you want to go to, which makes sense because if you look at the multiple things when you are looking at the hub for Stalingrad, it looks like there's a bunch of different teleporters that are going to specific locations, whether it be Paris, Geonuma, or Merville, which makes sense because we saw that. But then it also made it sound like that you could actually choose which objective you want to do on those maps, which is interesting because maybe one of those maps is really bad for the holdout blitz objective, so you just don't want to do on that one, so you choose to do it there, and that gives it a little bit more variety. But it seems like it might get a little repetitive, a little bit faster, because if you constantly choose the most optimized map for the most optimized or for the easiest objective for that map, it may seem like you'll just do the same one every single time. So we'll see how exactly that plays out, but it is an interesting idea. Now, one thing I should also mention about the Stalingrad hub is that zombies could actually spawn there even when you're at the hub. I imagine it's going to be a system like when you were just at the hub for too long, then zombies will spawn. Like, there won't be zombies for a bit, but if you're staying there for too long, then zombies will spawn. I imagine something like that will happen, but we're going to have to wait and see. But speaking of these objectives, and after you complete them, you do return to the hub, which gives you multiple things. After completing an objective, you will be rewarded with a couple different things. First is essence or points, then salvage, which is returning, we'll touch on that here in a bit, then more of the Stalingrad map, and finally a sacrificial heart. Now we kind of could imagine like what everything's going to be used. Obviously essence is going to be for pack-a-punch, perks, mystery box, stuff like that. Salvage is going to be used for salvage stuff, which we will touch on, and then the more of the Stalingrad map is going to let you access more of the perks, pack-punch, and stuff like that. But the final thing I mentioned is one of the newer things that Treyarch really seems to have a big thing for, and this kind of seems like their big new feature for the zombies mode, and this is the sacrificial heart. Because the sacrificial hearts are actually used to buy covenants, and how the covenants work is after getting a sacrificial heart, and you only get one after completing an objective, you will go to the covenant machine. It's not really a machine, it's kind of like a dude there, a really spooky looking dude actually, and when you go to him, it will randomize each time, but you will be given the option to buy one of 3 random covenants, and they will all be ranked in different rarities. And of the rarities that we saw rare, epic, and legendary. I imagine there's going to be a common one there too, but we just didn't see that here, at least in these ones. Now, we did see a couple of them, but I don't want to go over all of them, so I'll just go over one from every rarity that we saw. The first one being Death Blow. Critical kills return a bullet to the clip, and as I mentioned, this is rare. Okay, it is a rare one, so you can't expect too much. But then we have an epic one. Ammo Gremlin. Stowed weapons refill ammo of stock quickly. And this to me just sounds like the mule kick ability that we had inside of Cold War, when it was your stocked weapon that would just automatically reload itself if you didn't reload it, which is okay, I guess. I don't really think that's really worthy of an epic, but whatever. And then we have our highest rarity, the legendary, and this one is called Unholy Ground. Deal much more damage while stationary and for a short time after you start moving. And this one, I mean, I kind of get maybe if it like deals a lot more damage, but I mean, I guess it'd be nice for camping, but considering that this mode really isn't a round-based one, I can't imagine you'd camp too much, so maybe it's legendary solely because of their thinking potentially in the future when they do add a round base, it's going to be good for that, but at least for this, it doesn't really seem like a good legendary. Another thing that we should keep note of is those rarities of those covenants, and you actually aren't just completely based off chance that you will get a higher or lower rarity covenant. And how it works is much like the gun rarity system in Cold War. Over time, and the higher rounds you are, the better chance you get to get higher rarity covenants, which the more you play, if you're going for higher rounds, you're probably going to have the 3 perfect covenants all legendary at some point in the game, because it just increases your chance of getting those higher rarity covenants. And that is kind of the main major features of how this new Anfang is going to work, and also the new feature of the covenants. Now, there are some other features that I want to go over here that we saw throughout the trailer, and also the, I guess, blog post, and then also the second video. So there's a lot of content that we had to go over, and I want to go over these things because there's some interesting things. And the first one I want to talk about are all the perks that we saw during this reveal, whether they be in different places. The first one that I want to point out is actually stamina. This one was the easiest one to spot because it was in one of the art photos that they shared, and we actually saw directly their stamina. The next one we saw was Speed Cola, or what I'm pretty sure is Speedy Cola, and this one we see, of course, in Stalingrad, because all the perks are going to be in the Stalingrad map, and it's actually when they spawn into a place and it says Blitz, so it does seem like you are able to do objectives in the Stalingrad map, but also there's going to be Speedy Cola, or what I'm pretty sure is Speed Cola. But then throughout the reveal, we actually saw a perk that just didn't look very familiar to one we've seen before. This looks completely new, and it's this perk that just has fangs as its logo. And I am very certain we've never seen anything like this, so this is rather going to be a brand new perk, or they redid the look of a previous perk. And if that's the case, I really don't know what it could be besides maybe like the Luna perk from BO4. But probably most likely is that it's just a brand new perk. And if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear what you think this perk could possibly do down in the description. But then we also see some red perk, and we can't really make out what it is. It just kind of looks white, and I don't know exactly what that is, but if we think about red perks, I mean, the main one that pops in everyone's mind is Jug, so I think that's probably Jug, considering that they got rid of it, and then, of course, there's a huge backlash, and they had to bring it back, so I'm sure Jug is going to return, so this is probably Jug, but we just can't be for certain. But finally, we saw what seems to be another brand new perk, and it's just a perk that is orange, but it has some lightning logo. Now, as for that, what that could do, I have no idea, to be completely honest, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what that could possibly be. Now, for another system that is actually returning from Cold War is actually the field upgrades, but at least at launch we are only going to be getting 4. Now, these are actually special because they actually tie to a different overlord in the Dark Ether, which well, we're not going to get the story stuff in this video, but it's actually cool that they're going to be doing that. They have special artifacts in order to activate these and stuff like that. It's really cool, but we're not going to touch on that. But for the 4 different field upgrades that we have is actually Ring of Fire, Ether Shroud, Frost Blast, and Energy Mind. Now, the first 2 make sense, Ring of Fire and Ether Shroud, because those were very, very fan favorites inside of Cold War. But why Frost Blast and Energy Mind? Who uses those? Like, for reals. Like, they got the worst ones to choose from. They got the 2 best ones and the 2 worst ones. Don't know why they made that decision, but whatever. Another system returning from Cold War Zombies also, though, is going to be the armor system. So I imagine super sprinters are probably also going to return once you get past round 50 something, whatever round it is. But regardless, the armor system does return, and it looks like it's going to work identically to how it worked in Cold War Zombies. You're going to be able to buy the 3 different versions of it, and then from there you could just repair it. So it looks very identical. But the thing is that actually when we saw the person buying armor in the trailer, they actually weren't buying it at the arsenal like you do in Cold War. Instead, they were buying it at the crafting table, which is very strange because obviously the arsenal and crafting table were different things in Cold War, but maybe they just combined the 2. to. And if that's the case, we don't really see all of the same options that we had inside Cold War, because what we don't see here is a place to upgrade the rarity of your gun, which we will touch more on this in a little bit, and also we don't see a spot for streaks. So potentially those both could have been removed, but we're just going to have to wait and see exactly how that all plays out. Another system returning from Cold War is going to be the class system, where you choose the gun you spawn in with, and it could be any of the guns, even if it's the primary, anything like that, and all the attachments that you want. That system is going to be returning, which isn't the greatest thing for map flow, but it's really good for a dark ether grind. So hopefully we have another cool camo to grind out inside of this game. But another thing with this class system is going to be that you are going to spawn in with your field upgrades. So unfortunately, the field upgrades are going to be a spawn in thing again, and not something you actually have to do a little quest to get, which I personally don't like too much. So it is what it is, but we have that exact same system returning. And the last and final thing that we know for a fact, there's one more thing we'll talk about this after this, but for now, for the thing we know for a fact is returning from Cold War to this game is the exfil system. We didn't really get any gameplay or anything like this in it, which is very interesting, because the whole idea that they described the story was that they were trapped here and they couldn't get out, and that the bad guy was keeping them in this area. So to have exfil is a little bit weird there, but regardless, we'll just have to wait and see the whole story explanations for this, if they do plan to have that, which I imagine so, because it is Treyarch. But regardless, that system is returning. And finally, I want to talk about gun rarity and mystery box. And I already somewhat touched on gun rarity because of the crafting table and the lack of gun rarity system there. And that, of course, was weird, because it seemed like they were going to combine the crafting table and arsenal together, but there's no gun rarity or streaks there, so it was weird. But I do think it's going to return. I think the gun rarity system is going to return. And the reason I think this is because if you look at the blog post from Treyarch, what it says is the mystery box will also increase power over time. And to me, that just sounds identically to what the mystery box does in Cold War, because it increases over time because the gun rarity increases. And because of that, I think it's going to return, but at the same time, it's weird that the arsenal system hasn't anywhere to be seen, and we don't see the gun upgrade rarity system in the crafting table. It's just something to keep a note on. And I almost forgot this, but the last and final thing that we do know is returning is actually the intel system from Cold War. This was at the bottom of the blog post, almost missed it, but the intel system is going to be returning, which is good and bad at the same time, because it has some ups and downs for that system. But I think it's at least something to acknowledge. But regardless, that is about it for this video. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on everything. I know the biggest thing right now is the lack of a round-based map, which I understand, don't worry, but it's just that I don't think it's something we should be too surprised about, if we're being completely honest, because I just doubt that Treyarch was going to release 2 round-based maps back-to-back. It is cringe because it's probably going to come with Season 1, and Season 1 is probably going to be the same time, or I think it's already confirmed that the brand new Warzone map is coming, so it's kind of cringe because I want to play both of those, but it looks like I'll be focused on Zombies for Season 1, and we'll get to that new Warzone map eventually. But either way, that's about it for this video, and if you guys did enjoy the video and you found it useful in any way, shape, and form, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm going to go catch you guys next stream video, or whatever that may be, and laters, guys.